What did you do for work when you were 17? Were you so excited to have a job that you would have put up with just about anything? Even ghosts? What if this job was far away from family, friends, and civilization? What if, over time, you began to realize you were trapped there, that the narrow dirt road that led to your employer could at any time become unpassable from falling rocks or snow, that one missed hour of work meant you wouldn't be able to afford the gas needed to leave, and that every night, when the lights went out, they may never come back on again. Every 10 episodes, we tell one of our own stories. Let's hear from Diana about how she narrowly avoided joining the ghosts that haunted the isolated hotel in the mountains of Colorado. Today on Homespun Haints. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Becky.
And I'm Diana.
And today is our 10th episode. And in celebration, we are going to share some of our stories again, this time about haunted workplaces. Woo!
We walk the walk, right, Becky?
We do.
We don't just podcast other people's ghost stories. We tell our own because we've both had shockingly haunted work experiences in our past.
Well, would you have it any other way?
No. My work today is shockingly not haunted, actually, except for this podcast. So,
well, maybe that will change in the future and you'll go back to a haunted job or move into a haunted abode.
Hopefully soon. Cool. Okay, so I guess I'll launch into my story. When I was 17, I spent the summer at a lodge, which was and is not now a ski lodge, just northwest of Crested Butte and Gunnison, Colorado. I say just northwest, but it's actually, at the time, there was no paved road to get there. There was one single dead-end road going to the lodge from Crested Butte and no other way to get there, but it was just a gravel road on the side of a cliff face, basically. Speed limit, like something ridiculously low, like 20 miles an hour. And it took about, from the nearest signs of civilization, it took about 40 minutes to get there in our car, I guess. Yeah, so it was out there, but it's a really good place to ski, but I worked there in the summer. So basically in the summer, what they did was weddings and such. So various weekend wedding parties with a huge amount of guests, and then during the week, very slow and abandoned kind of feeling. The night that we arrived, we were basically just let in, given instructions as to where the room that we were staying in would be, which ended up being up the flight of employee-only stairs in the attic. So there were no windows in the room, and when you turned off the lights, it was just pitch black, completely black, no light at all. Yeah. We had the larger room at the head of the stairs, which is basically you walk in and you see the roof beams, a mattress on the floor, and a lamp, and that's it.
Wow, this sounds like the start of every horror movie.
These are the employee living quarters. There was a guy's section and a girls section, because I went with my friend, we were both girls, so we got the bigger section to ourselves, and then the dudes that worked there too, bartending and etc., were over in the dudes dorm. There were maybe, like, all summer there were like 8 employees total that stayed there, 6 guys and us 2, because we wanted to stay there, because who wants to commute out a gravel road 40 minutes coming home at night? And then we were housekeeping, so we were kind of on call 24/7 for whenever it was necessary for housekeeping to attend to things for guests. So we got there first because, we needed to tidy up the place to open for the season. So there's nobody else out there. The manager's there. He's like, hi, your room is blah, blah, blah place. Didn't even take us there, just told us where to go. We go up the 3 flights of stairs to our attic room, and we have just one carload of stuff. It takes us about an hour to unpack, and then we're just sitting in the dark with this one little tiny lamp in this huge attic room with no lights. The whole place runs on generator power, and we're not really allowed to go down to the kitchen or anything. So we're cooking ramen in a plastic electric tea kettle in the dark, sitting on the edge of a mattress on the floor, we got the best deal ever because this room is like $3 a day. So we're like 17, right? So we're like, yes, this is awesome. I'm gonna add some extra garlic to this ramen. Yeah, it's a great deal. Yeah, so this is our plan for the summer. We're just gonna be housekeeping staff at this like old creepy ski lodge in the middle of nowhere. And the first night, we're the only people there. The manager leaves. He told us, hey, that some of the guys might show up today. They won't bug you. They'll just go straight to the guys' dorm, etc. At the end of unpacking for an hour, it was getting dark. We went upstairs. We started to turn in for the night and just kind of wait till the morning to get our assignments, and started hearing people go up and down the stairs. The staircase was right outside our door, and you had to pass by our door to get to the guys' dorm. So we just heard them going up and down the stairs all night, and it just kept us up all night. And by the morning, we were super groggy. We're like, oh, this is a great first start to a first day at a new job. Uh, so, we're trying to like freshen up as much as we can in this dark little tiny room with nothing in it. Go downstairs, and at the top of the stairs, we meet the cook. And he is just this total Tommy Chong type, like classic stoner, Colorado ski board kind of guy. I guess this was kind of before that time, but this guy is just like, oh man, you guys were up all night, weren't you? I kept hearing you move stuff in. And we're like, wait, what? He said, yeah, I got here, but I don't have my stuff yet. Somebody dropped me off, and so I just came upstairs and went to sleep, and you guys were up and down the stairs all night. We're like, who else came here last night? Nobody else had come that night. It was just us and the cook. And he swears, and we looked in his room, he did not have any stuff or bags or anything with him. So if he went up and down the stairs, he was sleepwalking. We were just like, this is really weird. We swear we heard you. He's like, no, man, I heard you. And we were like, there's got to be somebody else here. So finally the manager comes back in the morning, and the first thing he says to us without us saying anything to him was, did y'all hear the ghost last night? Or see the ghost or something like that. And we're all like, ha 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 ha. It's like, oh yeah, everybody says his place is haunted, da da da, stories, da da da. He didn't really tell us any good details or anything, just like, so and so saw something and so saw something. And so we're sitting there staring at the cook, staring at each other like, okay, so the creaky stairs all night last night. I guess yes, we should answer affirmatively. We did hear the ghost last night. Mm-hmm. Yep, that happened. So interesting. So, we're waiting for something else creepy to happen after that first night. We never heard the stairs creaking or anything like that. The one thing that I'd noticed was that there was a certain picture window that just had an amazing view, and I'd go and clean and dust around it and stare out the window at the beautiful mountains. And then I'd always, by the time I was finished cleaning, I always had the feeling that there was somebody behind me watching me as I was cleaning this window. And I would whip around real fast, and I'd get really fast at it because I kept having this feeling, and I'd always invariably see something shadowy dart around a corner into one of the rooms. It looked for all the world like a cat. It was about a foot off the ground, and a dark little fuzzy shadow that would just kind of go into a room. Fast, like almost the opposite of shining a flashlight into a room, like just a shadow. I would run and investigate the room, and of course there was nothing there. Just, I never heard any sounds. I just saw these shadows moving, and so I was kind of creeped out by that. But nothing really serious happened for the rest of the week that we started to move in. And so we just kind of calmed, settled into a routine, cleaning weird wedding party stuff. Oh my gosh, you can't imagine the stuff I've cleaned out of rooms. But cleaning all weekend, and then basically during the week recuperating and cooking ramen on a plastic tea kettle in a dark room. It just became our life. And a week or so later, I was cleaning one of the rooms at the very end of the hall near that picture window. And I swear the smell in that room was just starting to kind of dawn on me that it wasn't quite right. So I picked up the mattresses. I'm housekeeping staff, right? So it's my job to keep the room smelling fresh. So I picked up mattresses, and I moved the stuff aside so I could vacuum underneath it just in case something was stinky in there. Just double checked underneath the trash cans, made sure nothing had fallen out, and cleaning everything extra hard. And over the course of the next week or so, the room there at the hall got increasingly smelly. the only thought I could give that would describe the smell was dead body, because it just smelled putrid, rotty, death, totally death, like not any kind of smell I'd ever smelled before. And it was just horrible. And it just got worse and worse, even though I'm cleaning as hard as I can, moving everything. And finally, I go in one day and I pull back the shower curtain to clean the tub, and there's blood smeared around the inside of the tub. A small amount of blood, but still, it was rather shocking because, there was never any commotion the day before or anything like that. Nobody said anything. So I was a little bit freaked out by that. And, I talked to the manager about it because I didn't want to just clean up blood and not say anything. There's probably a problem with that. I still probably don't really know what I would do if I encountered this situation for the first time now. But definitely at 17, I was freaked out. So I summoned my manager and made him look. And this room that just smelled like death and now had blood all over the tub, it just really worried me that things were not only smelling worse, but also bloodier all of a sudden. And my manager just kind of said, "Oh, that's just probably a dead mouse." I didn't get that at the time, but it kind of started to play out to where that was probably the explanation for everything. I found out later went down to the kitchen to get some food and talk to the guys in the kitchen, and there's a photo snapshot on the wall of this crazy rabid weasel looking thing. And this just made me giggle because I'm like, okay, this is the kitchen. Why do you have a photo posted on the wall of this rabid weasel snarling? It was really weird. And they're like, oh, because he stuck his head through the wall one day and we took that picture.
What?
So come to find out, it's called a Pine Marten, which is like I guess a type of weasel that lives in the Rocky Mountains.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, neither had I. And it apparently would hang out in the winter in the walls of this building. It would live in the walls. Yeah, all winter. So in the summer, it really wasn't around too much. But the problem with that was it would stash small rodents that it had killed for food inside the walls in the winter and then not really come back for them. And so as the summer heated up, those rodents would decay and become little piles of stinky rodent soup inside the walls. And so I believe probably the manager just had to keep punching holes in the walls and cleaning it out and then repairing the holes. I can't imagine any other way, but he managed to get it to where it wasn't stinky anymore. But man, that was just a creepy thing with the blood that came out, and I don't know where the blood came from, but it was probably the Pie Marten dragging fresh kills through. But how is it in the bathtub? I don't know. So a lot of strange inexplicable things, but I think we can blame some of it at least on the weasel on the wall.
Huh. But
also really creepy because that thing looked evil. It had some sharp teeth, and in the snapshot it was really hissing.
oh. I don't even know where to begin.
Right? So that was the main thing that like bothered me while I was there, was that whole scenario with the blood and the stink and the creepy weasel sticking his head out of holes. And I was afraid that he was going to come up in the roof and get out somehow, because my room upstairs is pretty much unfinished roof, so he could definitely come into my room if he wanted to. So upstairs, the employees only staircase that led to the third story there was one room up there that guests could stay in other than the girls' dorm, boys' dorm. There was also, I didn't know, I don't know if I knew this at the time, but apparently it's like honeymoon suite of some sort with somebody's name attached to it. I don't want to say the name. But yeah, so there was a honeymoon suite upstairs. Big old 4-poster bed where each of the posts was like a freaking redwood tree, just huge bed. There was like a step ladder to get up onto this bed in the honeymoon suite. It was fancy. It was usually when there was a wedding party, of course, the couple getting married would stay in this wedding suite, and then their guests would stay on the second story. So they'd be alone up there with us in the wedding suite. They didn't know that the employee rooms were down the hall or anything like that. basically that was kind of either my first stop in the morning to clean or my last stop at night because it was right by my room. So it was just something that was easy to just go get. And then all the sheets and towels and cleaning products were right underneath it. So it was easy to start there. And so often I was really groggy when I was cleaning that room because I was either tired from getting up in the morning or end of the day or whatever. So it took me a little while longer than it probably should have to clean that room just because it was so different from everything else. And you had to climb on a freaking step stool to get on the bed to put the sheets on. So it took a little bit of time. I spent a lot of time in that room. One thing that I noticed was, standing on the step stool, trying to spread out a fitted sheet on a king size bed that's almost as tall as my chest, my shoulders, was difficult. And so I'd spend several times trying to get the sheet flat across the bed. And what I'd notice was that occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally when I'd flick the sheet, you know how when you flick a sheet and you're letting it settle onto a bed, it's supposed to kind of form a wave, right? You expect it to kind of wave down onto the bed. I would notice that occasionally when I flicked it, it would fall as though there was something very heavy on top of it, like a ball or something. Sorry, there's about to be a lot of noise. Give her a second to start barking. Okay.
Problem averted.
Problem averted. Yes.
It's okay. You have no idea how many cat meows I've edited out of the tracks.
We have barking and meowing here. So, yep.
Yes, for our listeners out there, we have animals.
Yes, this is a combination podcast and petting zoo here.
So anyway, you were saying that the sheet fell as if there was like a heavy ball or
as though it had a significant weight to it, as though it had a body in it. I don't know. It was just a creepy experience that it would happen once, and then I'd try to replicate the situation. I'd flick the sheet again to try to make it happen again, and it would never happen again. And so otherwise I would have gone running and said, guys, you need to see this. It's right by the employee rooms. So I could have had a ton of witnesses if this would just happen consistently, but it didn't happen consistently. It would only happen once in a while where I'd flick the sheet, and instead of settling across the bed like a sheet would, it flopped down to the bed as though it had like a big, something heavy in the center of it. Truly bizarre. No explanation for that. I assume that somebody could maybe debunk it, but I don't know. I couldn't think of anything.
I think there's an explanation, but it's paranormal.
That's definitely what I felt at the time. That was a very creepy place to spend the summer. At the time, I was driving down that gravelly road at night after going out to dinner in a very, very old car that was about at least 10 years old. Probably more like 20 years old. And I was just driving the speed limit down the gravel road in the night, and immediately, like so fast, a big buck just plows into the side of my car.
Oh no.
So I didn't hit the deer hit me as I was driving along, fortunately at the speed limit. So tried to knock me off the cliff there. I skidded out on the gravel for like a couple of seconds towards the cliff face. Stupid. He was unscathed. He hopped right away, but man, of course, just pow into the side of my car like nobody's business. Fortunately, it was a Volkswagen. The car was fine. But yeah, I took a breath and kept driving. It was very, very scary. That was the most dangerous thing that happened to me there. I don't know if that was the cabin trying to keep me from ever leaving. I don't know. So that was my experience working at a haunted cabin when I was 17.
Oh my goodness. That was amazing. Oh, okay. All right. So I've got some chills going on here. Let me just recap. So you are in the middle of nowhere down a treacherous one-way road that could, I'm sure in the winters that could get like completely snowed in.
Oh, yeah, they get 3 times as much snow as the surrounding area. So in the winters, you have to take a snowcat there. I don't believe that there is a road in the winter.
So totally overlook hotel kind of thing.
A little bit in Colorado. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. And then and you're in a room with no windows.
Oh, and the best part was it was on generator power, like I mentioned. So every night they would switch over from generator 1 to generator 2. So generator 1 could be refueled or take a break or something. I don't know how generators work. But so there would be a brief period of about 5 minutes where the guy would walk from generator 1 to generator 2 and get generator 2 booted up. So there would be a brief period of complete blackout every night, right around bedtime,
That's not okay. So
in my dark room with no windows,
in the attic in the haunted cabin.
right next
With
door to the honeymoon suite. Yes.
right, with rabid animals in the walls that leave blood in the bathtubs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It was
how
really
long did
scary. It was scary for that 5 minute changeover generator period of blackness every night around 10 o'clock. So that was the scary part, really, was
every
being there.
every
And then
single night?
every night they switched the generators back and forth, and then in the morning they would switch it
Oh,
back. Maybe one was
what?
better rated for, I don't know, heating and cooling. The other was better rated for lighting. I don't know. But they had to do it every single night right around 10 o'clock or something like that.
I can't even imagine. How long did you last there?
About a month and a half, because we were really excited to spend our time off out and hiking and enjoying the mountains, enjoying the lake, and just seeing scenery and just exciting other touristy things, right? But we cleaned up people's trash and dirty sheets and towels for a living. And so we got sick pretty constantly. We were always catching some
Ew.
bug or another. And so we'd just be passing sickness back and forth amongst us. It was terrible. Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I try to be as hygienic as possible, but cleaning up other people's dirty stuff, you know.
Oh my gosh, could this story get any like
So at the end of about a
creepier?
month and a half, we kind of decide, this is not as fun as we thought it would be, because
No
number one,
shit.
it's really some weird stuff is happening. It's a little creepy. But number two, we're not getting to enjoy our time here like we thought we would. This is more of just like a indentured servitude kind of situation where we don't really leave that often because we don't really make enough money to afford gas to drive anywhere, because gas there is super expensive because it's the middle of nowhere in Colorado, and we were always sick. So we didn't really spend too much time having fun. So it really was kind of not working out for us as the fun summer vacation job that we were expecting. And we just packed up the car and left like in the middle of the day. Just like one day we just put everything in the car and we're like, bye. This is a crap situation. So
Oh, I can't blame you.
kind of like threw everything in the car quickly and just kind of like drove away, like, goodbye.
Is that when the buck hit you?
No, that wasn't when the buck hit us. Good gracious, that was the buck hitting us was one of the things that made me want to leave. It's like every time I go somewhere, I get hit by a stupid deer. A 2-hour round trip into town was just not worth doing very often when, we couldn't really afford much gasoline.
Did they provide you food, or did you have to eat ramen in your dark, scary attic 3 meals a day?
There was, I think there was discount food if we wanted to purchase the food, but the food, we made $7 an hour for it. It wasn't affordable at half price or whatever. So it was mostly just ramen.
Things we do when we're 17.
Right? We thought it was such a good deal. $3 a room at this inn, man. That's why nowadays I can stay in hostels and not like get all uncomfortable with it. It's like, oh, I've seen worse.
True, but still, I mean, I remember, when I moved into that creepy haunted apartment in Chicago, like, I was like, it has a dishwasher. I know what it's like to be without a dishwasher. I've been without a dishwasher for too long. I will put up with dead, creepy things for a dishwasher. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I know you wanted to get the hell out of there. Did you ever learn anything about the past of this place? Anything that could have shed light onto why there was this really active ghost in the staircase that maybe was going to this honeymoon suite or whatever? I mean, I'm assuming.
Maybe. Honest to goodness, no, I can't hardly find any information at all on it nowadays. it was one of those things where I went kind of before there was much internet, and it was
It's a theme.
managed by a lady who lived in town. It didn't really have like a management company or anything at the time, I don't think so.
Okay.
There was not really a good way to look it up, and if you look on the internet now for information about it, now it's been purchased by somebody who started a remodel and then I guess perhaps never finished the remodel, and so at one point it was posted up for sale. I guess it's now owned by somebody who is not using it for tourism.
You could use it for ghost tourism.
Exactly right. They're definitely
The owner of this hotel.
the odor. Ghost building.
Oh, creepy. Well, yeah, I could see someone starting renovations and the activity being, I mean, ghosts hate renovations. Maybe it just, maybe it had nothing to do with the recession.
Kicked up some supernatural activity when they started ripping walls out, maybe. Or maybe by then generations of Pine Martens had moved into the wall. And every time they tried to knock a wall down, thousands of weasels came out. Who knows? I don't know.
Oh,
That could happen.
Yes.
After it was abandoned for a while, right?
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. My family owns some land in the middle of nowhere, and I shudder to think of some of the things in those walls. My cousin actually took a photo of a video of a gator in the front yard the other day. Yeah. My sister claims that she once went into my grandmother's shower and there was a baby alligator sitting in the tub. So
because somebody had rescued it and decided to keep it as a pet, or just because it came up from the sewers?
There's no sewers out here. It's too far out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, dang. That's true.
I think it just probably found a hole in the wall. When I lived in Chicago, I didn't tell you, I had some bugs that were the size of gators that would come up through the sewers.
I bet.
Oh, I mean, if it's big enough that I can see it without my glasses, it's big.
Question is, can you tell what it is without your glasses while you're in the shower and it's attacking your feet?
It's usually like, is it a mouse or a bug? I can't tell.
Yuck.
Did you have a chance to talk to the rest of the staff about some of these experiences you had, like seeing the shadow out of the corner of your eye, or the sheet that fell the wrong way, or the feeling that you could never leave?
I had to bring the stinky bloody room to the attention of my manager, but other than that, I talked with the friend who came with me about seeing these dark shadows kind of escaping into the hotel rooms. And at the time I guess I was trying to kind of comfort myself. I'm like, maybe it's just, it's another plane of existence, cats coming to visit me because I miss my cat back home. was my logic there at the time. Interplanar cats.
Well, they do kind of exist in both worlds.
Exactly, right? The cats are kind of between worlds already, so there were some kind of interplanar cats that just showed up to sit and watch me work.
Well, what did your friend say? Had she seen anything like this as well, or?
I don't really think she said anything. She just thought it was cute that I thought I was seeing cats. I don't know. Yeah, when I talked to her, she was the one who actually, for the most part, stayed up all night listening to the stairs creak. I eventually fell asleep, and she was the one who testified that no, that definitely happened all night, and I didn't sleep well. So I know she was experiencing some of the same things. And she, at one point, she saw something in that master suite that made her not want to go in there, possibly, or that she reported she just wasn't comfortable with. But man, I can't remember the details. I'm sorry.
You do know that something happened and she never wanted to go back in.
I remember somebody reporting that occasionally in rooms that hadn't been stayed in and had been locked, of course, when they entered the room that hadn't been stayed in, that they'd see like prints on the bed where somebody had sat on the, clean made beds that hadn't been used.
That's not creepy. Oh.
Yeah, I had other people report that to me.
So it was throughout the entire building. It wasn't just the staircase or the honeymoon suite. This was pretty universal to the entire. How many rooms were in this cabin?
Maybe 20.
Hotel cabin. I mean, it was probably a pretty good sized structure if it had 20 rooms in it.
It was like your classic wooden hunting lodge kind of size.
Right.
Downstairs was all common area, sit by the fireplace, play a game of chess, and there were a couple of hot tubs outside and a little patio. restaurant to eat in and a bar. And then upstairs, 10 rooms on either side of this second story balcony. And then the third story was completely closed off because you could only get there if you were an employee or going to the honeymoon suite specifically. It was small enough that 2 17-year-olds could be the entire housekeeping staff 24/7. That's small enough.
I want to get back to the shadow creatures that you were seeing. And you said this happened pretty often.
It would happen nearly every day while I was cleaning that particular area of the second story. Not so much that I spent every day cleaning that window. That would be a very annoying task to have to do every day, but I did have to. That was where the grand staircase was, right in front of the window. And so that's where I'd have to haul the vacuum cleaner from the first floor to the second floor every day. So every day I'd spent quite like a good minute hauling that vacuum cleaner up the stairs and then turn around and see something disappear into a room around a corner when I turned around.
My experiences, which we'll talk about in episode 20 of working in a haunted place, because you're there and you're there every day, you kind of grow used to it. At least for me, my experience was I grew used to it and got to where I wasn't really scared of it anymore. But I think it's because the presence there wasn't ominous. Was this something that like bothered you every single time it happened? Or was it something that you just kind of started being like, oh yeah, there's the ghost, there's the cat?
It didn't really bother me hardly at all. Like the part that bothered me was the darkness between the generators going off and being there completely alone in the dark, in the still, quiet silence in a room with no windows. That was the part that really kind of creeped me out most. Everything else was just kind of like, I wonder what's happening. What's going on? I really want to know more about this. I wish it would happen more consistently so that I could somehow investigate what was going on. Was my instinct, I guess, at the time, just to try to figure out what was happening. But the part that frustrated me the most was I didn't get answers before leaving. I didn't get any answers because, people would just say so and so saw something. They never actually gave like a really good ghost story. I wish I had heard like a consistent tale about why the place might be haunted. And I would, I've scoured the internet to try to find something, but no luck so far.
As this podcast is proving, it seems like so many places are haunted. It's just not the ability to have that kind of information unless it's something that's become famous for it. I know that you probably hunted for it ad nauseum trying to find information, but if you have anything that you have found that you want to include on the website, it would be awesome.
Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, I found some photos of the outside, unfortunately, but that's a start. Yeah, I've been looking through old photos like crazy trying to find some of this place that I took while I was there, but I honestly don't think I had a camera. So, yeah, no camera. Left the cell phone at home because the cell phones don't work up there. You need a satellite phone.
Oh my goodness. Everything that you say, it's just like one more tick on the horror movie checklist.
There was like a satellite phone that they charged us $10 every time we wanted to use because it was so expensive.
Holy!
It was like locked in a lockbox. You had to go to the management and get the key and pay them to get the key so that you could unlock it and go stand up on the second floor balcony and like hold up the phone to try and get a signal, and you could make like a 4-minute phone call. I guess it was kind of a horror movie. I made the best of it, I suppose. Parts were people's stuff that they would leave in their rooms under the sheets.
Oh, like condoms?
Well, I got tired of seeing that, but just bizarre things. Like maybe this was part of the haunting, but I just never attributed it to. But there would be a lot of needles and pins. A lot. Because people would pin corsages or whatever dude corsages are called when you pin the...
Boutonnieres?
Thank you. Yes. Dude corsages. Like all the pins from all of these corsages would end up all over everything when we were cleaning. So about half the time when you picked up the bed sheets, there were pins in the sheets.
Ugh.
On the floor. This is why I have a slight fear of going barefoot at the acupuncturist's office. Because it kind of developed a little bit of a fear of stepping on pins and needles. There were no needles, just pins. But, if they'd never been used and they were in the package, I started collecting them. So I actually had a good collection of pins when I left. Before I knew what they were from, they really freaked me out, just seeing like pins all over the place. What is going on with all these pins?
I think it might be an interesting exercise for listeners to write in the comments on this page of their worst jobs at 17 and see if it beats yours.
Does it have to be a haunted job, or can it be any worse job?
Any terrible job.
The funny thing is, I wouldn't even call that my worst job.
Aw. Yeah. I've had some doozies too.
It gets pretty bad when you're that age and you're desperate.
I worked in this frame shop when I was 17, and it was basically a shack. I mean, there was no plumbing. So the owner would brush his teeth in a bucket, and we had to go to the main street and like go into somebody else's office every time we wanted to pee. And the owner had this bird, and she was a smart ass. So she didn't have a cage or anything. He had put like dowel rods around the entire showroom, like at the top, all around the walls. And he had just put like some craft paper taped to the floor underneath to collect her shit. So you walk in and the place smells like bird shit, right? Because it's all over the floor. And this is like a high-end gallery. And people would come from all over the Midwest to get their stuff framed there. We had a lot of customers who would come in with one in particular I remember was like, he had a lot of gay erotica, and he lived in Iowa, and he was afraid to get it framed in Iowa. So he'd bring it to us because we were like, whatever, that's cool.
Logical.
Yeah. I saw a lot of penises in that job. So,
and this was when you were 17?
This is when I was 17. Yeah. So this bird would be in the showroom, and we'd be in the back framing things. And this little asshole bird, she'd be, it'd be completely silent. You'd be there all by yourself, and you'd hear, hello? Hello? Can I get some service? Is anybody here? Hello? And you'd walk out. Wasn't me. You walk back out. Hello? She knew what she was up to.
Well, it always made you come in the room. Was there a bell on the counter? Ding, ding, ding.
There was a bell. She never figured out how to ring the bell, thankfully. That way I would have chalked up to something paranormal. She sounded so human. It was creepy. I never actually saw her talk, so maybe.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know why anybody would hang out in that shack. Ghosts have to use the bathroom too, So yeah, we would love to hear about your strange work experiences when you were 17, especially if they're haunted. But
not necessarily.
I'm sure you all have some pretty weird jobs.
Creepy bird is probably one of the, it rivals a paranormal story.
Why, thank you.
I would not work with a creepy bird. I can tell you that much. I wouldn't do it.
I lasted about as long in that job as you lasted in yours.
Okay, fair enough.
But I was only making $5.25 an hour. So at least we got our food paid for. We did get free lunch. But every time we sat around and sit down and eat lunch, they would pass around this like massive bottle of horse pill vitamins. And that was the requirement. In exchange for your free lunch, you had to take a vitamin because he didn't want any of us getting sick and missing work.
Okay. You didn't want to be culpable in case you got silicosis or something like that.
Right.
Okay, yeah, so some bad jobs there. This is like our anniversary, but not an M, a 10-iversary, a decaversary. This is our decaversary.
Yes.
So we're going to have a theme by which our show, every decaversary, we share one of our own personal stories.
That sounds great.
Stories. In which case, we're going to have to go do a lot more ghost hunting so that we get more stories to tell. This time, it's work experiences. Next time, I think it's also going to be work experiences. We'll see.
Probably. Well, they're the best, right? Like if you live someplace or you work someplace that's haunted, you're most likely to run into it, right? Because you're always there.
You're always there. You're a captive audience.
Exactly. And a lot of times you can't leave.
There was one time where we were running out of gas and we had to go into town to get gas, but we were running out. We didn't realize when we started our sojourn up the mountain, and so we had to drive like 40 minutes into town, but it's down a mountain. And so we were like, hey, we'll just not start the car and just kind of roll down the mountain to save gas so that we can make sure to get to town. We don't have to worry about walking to town the rest of the way to fill up a gas can. Well, okay, so the car was new enough that I was 17. I got my driver's license when I was 17. I was not like a car person, and I never have been. But apparently power steering and power brakes are powered by the car running.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So 10 minutes later, I had nearly driven off of a cliff several times and spun out on gravel several times. I was like, all right, this is not going to work. We're going to have to actually run the car to get back to town. Fortunately, we made it, probably only because I made it through the first 10 minutes of switchbacks without running the car.
I'm glad you're still with us.
Yeah, me too.
Otherwise, you'd be in that hotel still.
I would. That's why it's haunted.
Yeah.
People make bad decisions, I suppose.
What good decisions were made when we were 17?
It's not just haunted hotel thing. It's a day-to-day thing when you're 17. That's why our generation is, has a reputation for being super protective of their kids, because some of the things that probably shouldn't have been survivable. I don't know why I'm here, but my kids ain't doing that.
Well, Diana, thank you for sharing that scary story. Thank you so much for sharing. That was awesome. That was superbly creepy.
Thanks. I hope that you think of my story, whenever you smell something dying or see blood in your bathtub for inexplicable reasons. Actually, no, never strike that. I hope that never happens to you.
I need to show people what my face looks like right now. I can see myself on the camera. I'm like, oh my gosh, my face makes that expression.
Please don't cry. That'll never happen to you, I promise.
It's like Psycho.
Except with a Pine Marten. Yes. Terrifying.
Yes! Thanks, everybody. That's our show. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Homespun Haints on your favorite provider and check us out on Facebook, on Instagram, and be sure to check out our website, homespunhaints.com, to find juicy show notes about this and other episodes.
Until next time, have a spooky day.